Have you ever met anybody 99 years old before? First time.
First time. Hi, Dr. Scharffenberg.
There he is.
Hi. 你好。
好。你会讲国语？
我会。你也会讲国语吗？
一点。
一点。
都忘记了。我是在上海Sunday。
你全部记得。Wow.
You still speak Chinese?
Yeah, a little bit.
He speaks Hindu, Zhongwen, lots of Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She speaks Guoyi Mandarin, but come back out here.
Thank
But
you.
it's kind of pretty out here.
Oh, it's pretty in here too.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. His Chinese is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's Dr. John Scharffenberg, who turns 100 in a few months. My friend Michelle Sen charmed him into letting us visit him in his home, and I thought, how wonderful. She can interview him in his beautiful backyard, and I can run the cameras and enjoy the show. But Michelle being Michelle, she dragged me into the interview and persuaded him to let us inspect his kitchen and home office. John received his MD from Loma Linda University in 1948 and a master's in public health from Harvard in 1956. He is an Adventist and a vegetarian from birth, not uncommon among Adventists. Here he is a half century ago.
Let's take another cancer, lymph gland cancer. Dr. Alan Cunningham went around the world, checked 16 countries, and he noticed that as the meat intake went up, particularly with beef, the risk of lymph gland cancer increased. So from the anatomy standpoint alone, it looks like our Creator made us to be a kind of an animal that does not eat other animals.
I read 2 of his books while editing this episode, 6 Extra Years and Problems with Meat. Michelle Sen is a recent Stanford grad in Science, Technology, and Society, and she knows things about nutrition because she works at True North Health Center, whose founder has gone viral on YouTube for its impressive results from medically supervised water fasting. Part 1 of this episode is on the simple lifestyle changes almost all of us can make and understand that have a profound impact on our health. Part 2 is me grilling John about the amazing breakthroughs in our understanding of nutrition over the last 70 years. And Part 3 is discovering John's extraordinary life in public health by rummaging through his office.
So to get started, I'm just going to ask you some yes or no questions.
Okay.
Just to introduce yourself. So, do you smoke?
I don't smoke, never smoked.
Do you drink any alcohol?
No, never have.
Do you need any assistance to walk?
Yes, sometimes, not to walk, but to go up steps or down steps, I sometimes need a little bit.
Okay.
If there's a railing, I don't have any problem.
Okay. Do you wear glasses?
No, and that's because I had cataracts. And I had cataracts removed, and they put in 20/20 lenses, so I have 20/20 vision and threw my glasses away.
Wow. And can you drive?
Yes, I drive.
Do you drive at night?
Yes.
And how old are you, Dr. John Scharffenberg?
I am 99, but of course, in China, I'm in my 100th year, so they call that 100.
Right, because you were born in Shanghai.
I was born in Shanghai, but they list the year you're in as 100, but the U.S. people say you have to have finished the 100 year before they call you 100.
So you're already in there.
Yeah.
Wow. So in one sentence, what should people eat?
Well, I'll give you a university course in one sentence. Eat at the proper time. That means no snacking. Eat at the proper time. A variety, not all at one meal. You get too fat that way. But over a 10-day period, to make sure you get all the nutrients you should have. Eat a variety of different foods. So eat at the proper time, a variety of natural, non-processed foods in quantities for ideal weight. That's all you need to know. Everything else explains why the sentence is true.
And do you yourself eat any animal products like dairy or?
I do. I'm a lacto-ovo vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. And I don't like the term vegan. In Great Britain, when they used that term, there was no religious connotation. But when the man came here to the U.S., who started in 1960, he had a religious connotation. He had a monthly magazine on health for the vegans. He called it ahimsa. That means you don't use animals for any business to make money on. You don't wear silk shirts because you're using this silkworm to get a business from them. And you don't kill any insects. And one of their religious ideas was eat supper before dark, because after dark you're more likely to kill insects. So I don't say I'm a vegan. I don't like the term. I say I'd rather have the term total vegetarian.
Total vegetarian. I like that. And some people nowadays say that plants are trying to kill us. What do you think about that?
But who's trying to kill it?
Plants. Some
Plants?
people say plants are trying to kill us.
I never heard that before.
Okay.
No, I haven't heard that.
Some people are also saying that high LDL cholesterol is also fine for us. It might even be good. What do you think about that?
Well, you have to know about this whole story of cholesterol. Cholesterol wars.
Cholesterol wars, yeah.
It's a big story. But here's something we've just learned since about 2010. A big advance in health. You remember when Robert Koch discovered the bacteria and Pasteur showed how it could make germs and you could get sick from it with his flash studies? That was a real breakthrough in health. And then penicillin, about 1927, 28, penicillin was another real breakthrough. Now in 2010, we've had another great breakthrough that nobody's heard about. But it's exciting. Here's what it is. The World Health Organization agrees to it. American Heart Association, the European Cardiology Society, they all agree to this, that if you avoid 7 risk factors, lifestyle factors, you can reduce the risk of a heart attack or stroke, cardiovascular disease, 80%. You can reduce the risk of getting diabetes, 88%. Now, what are these 7 risk factors? Tobacco, alcohol, inactivity, no exercise, overweight, and then they said too much meat and sugar. They added 2 others. They were high blood pressure and high blood cholesterol, okay? If you just do the first 5, you don't have to worry about the other 2, because those first 5 help to keep your blood pressure down and your cholesterol down, okay? So this is kind of exciting. Without any medicine, we can lower the risk of heart attack and stroke 80%. Now that to me is really exciting. You don't have to have all these pills. Now cardiovascular disease is killing more people than the next 5 leading causes of death combined. And here we don't need any medicine for it. Just lifestyle, exercise, no tobacco, alcohol, this kind of thing. Yeah. Keep your weight down. It's kind of exciting, but doctors haven't really accepted this yet. The authorities have, leaders have, scientific people have, but the doctors have been, for years, giving statin pills to lower their cholesterol. They had the idea that if we would lower everybody's cholesterol, we'd have no more heart attacks. It's not right. It was an error. They've been giving people statins if their cholesterol level went up. Okay? Now here's the exciting thing. Most of the studies were done on men. Well, they say women are just like men. Now, I'm a doctor. I know there's a difference. But they're treating the women the same way. When they did 3 studies just on women alone, they found out 2 of the 3 studies showed those that took the pills died sooner. Then another problem. What about men? The older men do better with higher blood cholesterol levels, higher than what we think are good. Okay? So the people, authorities in this field, said that if you get to be 75 years of age, you should no longer be put on statins.
Okay.
Because they do better with higher level. They live longer.
Okay.
So that doesn't fit our idea that LDL is all that bad. There's
Right.
something wrong with our theory.
Huh. Yeah.
So we were told in 2015 in the World Cardiology Journal, we were told, here's what we should tell our patients today. Tell your patients that we thought if we lowered everybody's cholesterol, we'd no longer have any heart disease. That was an error. But tell them what will really benefit them is lifestyle. No tobacco, no alcohol, keeping your weight down, exercise, all that kind of thing. But even now, the authorities who say you should be on statins say you should try lifestyle before you put the patient on statin. And most people aren't doing that. They just start off with the pills.
Right.
So I'm not for the pill business. I don't believe women should be put on statins, number one. And I'm sure that the men over 75 shouldn't be put on statins, no matter what their cholesterol level is. And I'm sure everybody should be started on a lifestyle program before they even try the medicines.
And why do you think there is so much controversy around nutrition? And has it always been this way?
Well, here's the problem. The doctors in their training have never had a good course in nutrition. That's the problem.
Right.
You go in to see a doctor, you say, what should I eat for breakfast tomorrow? Now, he doesn't want to act stupid, so he has to give you an answer. And he doesn't really know, so he thinks to himself, what did my wife give me for breakfast this morning? He doesn't know what to say scientifically, which is too bad. They need a good course. And then another problem that we have medically, we've been using cholesterol as an indicator who needs statins, as if that would tell us. And it doesn't. It's a very poor representative of your heart status or your atherosclerosis status. Very poor. Another problem, we're having lots of groups of doctors working together. And the leader of the group gets the group together and says, now look, you have to see a new patient every 10 minutes. Otherwise, we aren't going to make any money on this. 10 minutes isn't long enough to teach anybody anything.
Right.
So these are kind of problems we have medically, see? And then we had some scandals, bad scandals. I don't know if you've heard of the Cochrane database.
Can you explain more about it?
Cochrane is the name of a group of top specialists in different subjects all around the world. And they're the gold standard. When that group says this is what all these studies mean, that's what we should listen to. But recently, they voted the man who was most against the pharmaceutical companies having any influence with this group. They voted him off their group. That's a scandal.
When did that happen?
It just happened a few years ago,
Oh.
not very long ago.
Wow.
And so that's a scandal. Are they going to allow the pharmaceutical company to have influence? Then here's another thing they did. They said, how low should your LDL cholesterol be? Now, I was one of the first ones that said it should be 120. I'd done thousands of them, so I knew what it should be before they had any standards. Then when the standards came out, the British Heart Association said it should be 115 LDL cholesterol. The U.S. said 130. Mine was 120. So I hit it pretty close.
Yeah.
And that was kind of exciting where it should be. But a committee got together of about 15 people to decide how low LDL cholesterol should really be. 8 of the 15 people got some financial payment from the company that makes the pill to lower the cholesterol. So they voted it should be down to 100 LDL.
I see.
It's crazy. It doesn't have to be down that low at all. But they did it because they were friendly with the pharmaceutical companies. And here they have thrown the top guy out who was opposed to that. And now all these people were getting remuneration from the company by lecturing for them and stuff. So it's not right. Money, follow the money.
You were professor of nutrition for over 62 years at Loma Linda University.
Yes.
So throughout that time, has it always been this way that people keep disagreeing about nutrition?
Yes, they have. But the doctors, you see, don't have the training in it, the average doctor. So they don't know about it. Just a few people on the top know what it should be. Like the Heart Association was pretty good.
Do you think the problem is getting worse today? Do you think that people are disagreeing more than ever about what is healthy to eat?
No, but they've changed their views on some things. They've changed their views, and that made quite a difference in knowledge, what they knew worked and didn't work. But I don't think we have to worry about everybody's cholesterol level.
I see. Have you heard of people talking about the carnivore diet?
Sure, meat diet.
Meat diet,
Yeah.
all meat?
And I don't think that's right either. For example, the fat in the blood of the animal, even the Bible says you shouldn't eat it. The Jews were told not to eat it, fat in blood. Now we've found out that the fat in the blood has heme iron in it. And that increases the risk of colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, and increases the risk of heart attack. So, for example, in the big nurses study they did, they checked a certain number of them to see how much iron they were storing in their sternum. They took the needle, stuck into the sternum, and checked to see. Those that had the most heme iron, which was the meat eaters, they had more iron, heme iron there than the people who didn't eat the meat. Had more diabetes. So there are doctors who prescribe meat if you're anemic. They shouldn't. It's the iron in the meat is more quickly absorbed, so it's good from that standpoint. But it's increasing colon cancer, heart attack, and diabetes, type 2.
Wow, yeah. So what do you think is the best way to change people's minds about nutrition?
I think we need to get doctors educated in nutrition. We need a good course in nutrition in medical school. They don't have it. And that's one of the greatest things for prevention. You know, we just don't have that in the medical school. They should have a good course. They don't.
How often do you yourself eat?
I eat twice a day only. And that's different than most people. Now, there's something new about that. There's a dietitian down in Alabama.
Do you remember her name?
You know, I don't remember. I could probably look it up and find out. But anyway, she started in this country the idea. Now, we as Seventh-day Adventists used to teach that that was a good thing to do because Ellen White told us, who we believed was a prophet, told us that years ago. So I brought up my children on 2 meals a day. And when did I start it? When the children got old enough to see if I was eating supper or not. When they knew that I was on 2 meals a day too. So I've been on that for years.
Yeah, and what time do you eat your 2 meals?
Well, I eat breakfast about 6:30 in the morning. I wake up about 4. I eat breakfast about 6:30. And then lunch comes 12:30, 1. So I eat with other people at that time. And then I don't eat anymore.
And when do you
Drink water
When do you go to bed?
early,
Like
8 to 9.
8 to 9.
I'm
So
in bed.
so between your lunch and you go to bed, that's quite a few hours. Do you get hungry?
No,
Not at all.
you do when you change over to start with for 2 or 3 weeks. But we say when you get hungry, drink a glass of water.
I see. Okay. So you don't no snacks.
No snacks.
So I can't wait for us to go check out your fridge later so we can see more of what
Yeah.
exactly you eat.
Right.
Yeah, you said you like to eat a lot of fruit more than vegetables,
Yes,
right?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I like grains, not rice.
And you said that before you were going out to the Black Bear Diner and buying food, but now you get help making your meals?
Yes.
Oh, that's
The-
nice.
This lady's sister, she didn't like to see me going out eating all the time, so she brings a lunch every day.
What are your favorite foods?
Mangoes.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah, Manila mango. 2 months of the year in Manila, you couldn't get mangoes. The temperature wasn't right. But down in Cebu, the temperature is just right. They have mangoes every month of the year.
Wow. Down in where again?
Cebu.
Where
yeah,
is that?
Island of Cebu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite vegetables?
I'm trying to think what I like most. I kind of like snow peas. But more fruits, tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yeah.
I like tomatoes. I would argue with myself whether I liked rice better or potatoes.
It's a contest.
For a long time, I thought it was rice, but then I changed. I think it's potatoes.
Really? Okay.
But there's some problems with potatoes.
What's the problem?
They have a high glycemic index.
Even so white rice people say has pretty high glycemic index. Potatoes even higher?
Potatoes are like ice cream.
They're like ice cream? Oh, wow.
And so I have a friend who's a dietitian, a lady, and she no longer eats potatoes at all because of that.
I didn't know that.
It has a very high glycemic index. But it depends on what else you eat with the meal,
Right.
see, and how you prepare it. So every time they do a study on it, it comes out a different number. So I don't go for that idea scientifically yet.
I see. So when you're putting together your plate to eat, are you thinking in terms of the kind of nutrients you're adding, or are you just eating foods you're familiar with?
You know, when I was bringing up my children, 1 week out of the year, every year practically, we'd write down everything we ate, how much, and then we'd take out this agricultural handbook for the nutrient content and calculate what we're eating. And so my kids learn nutrition this way. The thing I was usually lowest in was vitamin A. That means the greens.
Ah,
See, I never ate greens in the Orient, fresh greens,
right.
because the Chinese always use human manure. And that's the way you got amoeba. You could die from that. So I didn't eat that. And I came to this country and I found out that people who ate a salad every day had a great drop in their chance of dying. If they had a food that had vitamin A and vitamin C in it both, they could reduce their death rate about 3/4.
Wow.
And so I began to eat more salads, greens. But the food I like the best, I would suppose, I like lentils pretty well. You know, I like Chinese cooking, wok cooking. I can eat vegetables that way very nicely.
I see.
I like it.
And now when you get your blood work done, are there any deficiencies, abnormalities?
No, except for my age, B12 and vitamin D. Vitamin D, to be useful, is in young people because it has to hit the cholesterol in the skin. It changes it. It has to go to the liver, change it again, goes to the kidneys, changes it again, and it makes a hormone, which we call vitamin D. Okay? And all these things in old people are working at half speed. So old people aren't getting it. They have to take a supplement.
I see. So you supplement vitamin D and vitamin B12?
Yes.
Every day?
That's all.
Gotcha. Why do you think that the Chinese and Seventh-day Adventists live so long in America?
I think it's a matter primarily of vegetarianism. We checked in California the vegetarian Adventist group with the general population, how long they live. For example, for the men, in the general population, 19.5% of them live to be 85 or older. But for Seventh-day Adventist men, vegetarian men, 48.6%. That's a big difference. Now, the women live longer than the men. So in the general population, 39.3% of the women live to be 85 or older. But for the Adventist women, 60.1%. It's quite a difference.
It is, yeah.
Quite a difference.
Yeah.
And vegetarian, what makes the difference? Of course, Adventists are an unusual group to study because they don't smoke or drink alcohol. Whereas all other studies, they have to compare this group to that group with the same number of smokers, same amount of smoking, same amount of alcohol. Confounding factors.
Yeah.
Messes up their study.
Yeah.
Adventists don't have those confounding factors. So that's pretty good. Now, in the Adventist health study for the men, they had only 56% of the death rate of the people of the general population. 44% lower vegetarian. No, that's for the ones who are not vegetarian. Everybody, all Adventists. But if you take just the vegetarian ones, they have only 39% of the expected death rate of the general population. If you take the total vegetarians who don't use milk or eggs, they had only 16% of the death rate of the general population. So smoking and tobacco knocks it down, 44%. If you don't eat meat, knocks it down further. If you don't use milk or eggs, knocks it down further.
Wow. What are the major advances in health that you've seen the last 100 years?
You know, the biggest thing that's happened in this country is that we have purified our water. So you turn on any faucet, you could probably drink it. I remember I went with some friends to Mexico City for a meeting on nutrition, big world meeting on nutrition. 2 out of 3 of the speakers could not give their lecture because they had diarrhea because of the food they were eating.
Yikes.
And when we came home, the Food and Drug Administration sent us letters. Where did we eat? What did we eat? Well, what did I eat there? Mangoes. Things I could peel.
Yeah.
Bananas, plantains, you know, and rice and things like that, though cooked.
Yeah.
So we never had any problem. But I was surprised so many people got sick.
Wow. So it sounds like you eat a lot of carbs, like a lot of mangoes, lots of rice.
Yes, yeah. So I think water improvement was the biggest thing we did compared to any other country. And then another thing I think next is immunizations. So we got rid of yellow fever, polio, smallpox, and even the measles and the German measles and all these things. The number of cases, diphtheria, whooping cough, number of cases went way down. And people stopped dying. I've got all kinds of data on that. So I think that was a big deal.
What about in your area of nutrition? What have been the changes or major advancements the past 100 years?
Well, I used to say before 1950 was the dark ages. But we did have some things that we did well. Pellagra. Have you heard of pellagra?
Yep.
The 3Ds? Diarrhea, dementia, dermatitis, death. During the 1940s, early 40s, during World War II time, we had as many as 100 to 300,000 people sick at one time. And since dementia is one of the problems, a lot of them were in jail because they did crazy things. So they got put in jail. And what made it bad was the Chicago Board of Health said it's an infectious disease. It wasn't. It's a nutrition disease. They proved it was not infectious. And so we got rid of pellagra in the 40s. We had degerminated the corn. You know, we did things like this. So they began to add niacin to the food. And then there was no problem. So that's one big thing we did before 1950. But before 1950, everybody thought you were crazy if you were a vegetarian. You couldn't bring up a child on a vegetarian diet.
Right.
See? But from 1950 on, it was really excellent things that happened. There was Frank Boudreau. He was a public health man. And he said, if we use the information we had on nutrition, it would be as big an advance as we Pasteur finding the germ theory.
Wow.
And I think that's right. The U.S. government had advisors, physicians, specialists, who told them that the best diet people could have is a vegetarian diet. It's the optimum diet. So I think we should get more people on that. As far as we know, only 6 to 15% of Americans are vegetarian. But now that we know with the proper lifestyle, you can decrease heart attacks and strokes 80%. And that's one of the main things, be a vegetarian. The problem was people like meat.
Right.
They rebelled against it. So they changed it and said, eat more fruits and vegetables. But they really meant less meat. So they added another recommendation. Eat no more than 5 to 6% of the calories as saturated fat. That means animal fat. Dairy fat, milk fat, butter fat, cheese, that meant lard, bacon, it meant beef. That's what we had to get rid of. So we don't use the bad terms, vegetarian, or the bad term, meat. We just say no more than 5 to 6% of the calories saturated fat. You calculate that means vegetarian diet.
Ah, okay. Are there any other advancements you think we should make in nutrition moving forward?
Yes, I think there are some that we should do. The next advance has to be in getting people to do what even they know they should do. We don't know how to do that, you know? And seeing a patient, a new one every 10 minutes is not long enough to even try. But here, a lady that's overweight comes in to see the doctor. He writes out a prescription. You will now exercise 1 hour every day. She comes back 1 month later, a little bit heavier. Did you follow the prescription? Did you exercise? No. And after he has 100 patients go through his office like that, he stops even trying to educate them.
Yeah.
That's our problem.
Yeah.
But the immunization has done good job. You know, even without immunization, I was in charge of tuberculosis control. I did so well in California that they made me a consultant to CDC. And it was kind of exciting because we just about have it eliminated. We still have it. Another 10 years, we'll probably have TB eliminated.
That's phenomenal.
It is.
Wow.
And I have a hand in that myself.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you for your service too, because you served for 2 years in the Army, right?
4 years.
4 years.
2 years as a medical student.
Ah, oh, okay, I see.
They put me through medicine.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for all you've done. What do you think has gone worse in the field of nutrition the past 100 years?
You see, the cardiac rate has gone down because of smoking going down. Now only 11% of Americans, adults, are smoking. In California, where they're a little more smart people, it's only 9%. So we've done well here in this country, and this state, we've done well. But there are things that are keeping the figures up. One is diabetes. 2 is hypertension. 3 is overweight, particularly in children. Now, diabetes. It jumped a lot in just a couple of years, about 75%. The rate jumped high. Well, why?
Did it jump by 75%?
Yeah.
In what time frame?
In just a few years, it just suddenly went up. And so why? Why did that happen? The people who are put on statins, medicines to lower their cholesterol, women particularly, have 71% higher chance of getting diabetes if they're on statins. So that's one problem. We've been getting too fat, particularly children. That's another cause of diabetes. And our blood pressure. We have people with hypertension. And you usually have hypertension maybe 7 years before you're diagnosed with diabetes. So all these things work together.
Yeah.
And all of them have to do with a vegetarian diet.
And what about exercise? How important is that to longevity?
Exercise is extremely important. exercise helps to keep your weight down. Exercise helps you, or hypertension. It's the best preventive for hypertension there is. Exercise helps to keep you from diabetes. In other words, if you exercise and you keep your weight down and you're on a vegetarian diet, you won't get diabetes. So this is one of our problems. It's the lifestyle. And see, the doctors have been telling people, take these statin pills. They're going by the cholesterol level, with the idea that if you lower your cholesterol, we will not have heart attacks anymore. It's not true. It's not true. And we made a mistake. We should tell them that the lifestyle is important. But the problem is, we haven't persuaded people to live like they even know they should live.
Yeah,
See, that's our problem.
And that's why I'm starting to become a therapist. I want to figure out how do we, people know what to do, but
a lot of them know what to do, but they don't do it.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. For exercise, how much do you think it can compensate for being overweight?
A woman who's fat. I had a lady helping me with my PowerPoint lectures. She did it for a living, for advertising purposes. And she was really big. And I said to her, I said, you know, I've got to talk to you about your weight. She said, I said, do you want the good news first or the bad news? She said, give me the bad news first. I said, you should know for every disease we know, overweight is going to increase your risk of dying. But the good news, if you are obese, and she was real big, if you are obese, but you exercise every day, you will live longer than the person who is normal weight who doesn't exercise. Oh, she said, good, because I exercise. Well, what exercise do you do? I go horseback riding.
Oh, so you're just like sitting on it?
I know the horse exercises, but I'm not so sure how much the person does.
Yeah.
Anyway, a man who smokes, has hypertension, has high blood cholesterol, but he exercises every day, will live longer than the man who doesn't have any of those things, who doesn't exercise.
And what counts as enough exercise?
Yeah, I hate to tell you this, but too much exercise increases your death rate too. Because hardly anybody does that. But they have these people running marathons and things. That's not right. It's too much. So they're trying to find out how much is okay. We're beginning to get an idea of how much. It's not very far between good amount and bad amount. But I hate to tell people this because most people aren't doing anything in the way of exercise.
What are you doing now for exercise?
Now, I should add one more thing to the exercise bit. They've done studies with Alzheimer's patients, and probably exercise in mid-age is the most important time. Not kids, not old people like me, but exercise mid-age, 40 to 70 years of age. You exercise in that age group might reduce your risk of Alzheimer's. So I think that's the important time. When I was 51, I moved out from my job at Loma Linda, started exercising by living out in the country, growing food, cutting down the trees and so on. And I outlived my brothers now, 14 and 17 years now.
And right now, what do you do for exercise?
Walking is about the only thing, walking.
And sometimes do you work in the garden?
I haven't been doing much here. See, most of the garden was all in place. This was all in place.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's mostly flowers, it's not food.
Does the walking, how much do you walk every day?
I haven't been walking enough. But you should walk, I think, at least 2 miles a day. In Hawaii, they did studies. Those who walk 2 or more miles a day compared to those who walk 1 or less. And those who walk 2 miles or more a day compared to the other had only 50% the death rate. Cut their chance of dying in half.
Yes, I think maybe you and the sisters could go walking a little more.
Yeah, I need to do some more walking.
Yeah, is it just hard to find the energy to or the time?
No, not, neither is a problem with me. I think it's the association.
Association?
I need to be walking with somebody, doing something with somebody else,
Oh.
talking or something.
Maybe we should get you a dog or something. Yeah. Well, I want to know, what do you think, looking back on your life, was the hardest time in your life?
I don't know that I had any hard time.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have. No, I lived kind of a protected life. Now, one thing that we should be working on is the ACEs, the Adverse Children Experiences. If a husband is beating up his wife and the kids see that, that's an ACE.
Yeah.
If the kid is not getting enough to eat, that's an ACE. If the most important thing is the mothers aren't spending enough time to help the kids emotionally, paying attention to them, they're just ignored, that's an ACE. If somebody is mentally off in the house, that's an ACE. If somebody's gone to jail in the family, that's an ACE. There's about 10 of those. And if you have about 6 of those, you may cut your life short by 20 years. So I think we need to do something to try to help our kids have the right mentors to help them religiously, or take them out in the country for exercise, things like that.
So you said that there have been no very difficult times in your life, and I think, you know, a lot of people, they find it hard to look back at life and think that it was also positive. So how do you keep on that characteristic smile and positivity?
Well, let me tell you one thing that happened to me and my wife. We had moved from Loma Linda up in the country, and I was waiting for my tax returns, people to get it finished, and I had to wait an hour or so. So I went to see a person in the house. They weren't there, so I drove in the backyard, and I saw a big tall man walk by inside the house. So I knocked on the door. He came to the door, and the family was taking little windows and taking them out and make big windows. And the man said, you know, there was a burglar in here and broke the window of the back bedroom. Oh, I said, I'd like to see it, because I knew the people. I said, where are the people? Oh, they're at work. So I went back to look at that broken window in the bedroom, and my wife dropped to the floor.
Oh.
What happened? I was stooping over to see what happened. Then I felt the hammer he had on my head. He hit her with a hammer. He was wanting to kill us to take our Cadillac. We just bought a second-hand Cadillac. Never had a Cadillac in my life before. And since I was moving, it was a glancing blow. He demanded my keys. I threw them at him, hoping he'd have to turn around to get them, but he caught them. I was going to tackle him if he turned around. But he ran out and got our car and drove off. Now, that new car had a number on it, so you could tell where it was. And I ran out on the street, and I didn't realize how I looked. My face was all bloody, and I didn't know it.
Oh my
Hands
God.
were all bloody from this cut on the head. And finally the car stopped. I said, can you get the police? That man just stole my car going around the corner now. And he may have killed my wife in the house. And so he called. The police were within 5 minutes of us, right close. So we went in the house and picked my wife up from the floor, put her on a chair. She said, what happened? Did we have an earthquake?
Oh.
That's California person.
Yeah, California.
She didn't know what had happened, see? Anyway, they had about 20 cars lined up that they were going up the hill, the mountains, and he wouldn't stop. He wasn't going fast, but he wouldn't stop. And they had to ram him at the front, ruined my car. It was loaded with everything I owned, practically. And we got the car back, and I got all my stuff back. But I had to give up the car because it was totaled.
So how do you stay so optimistic despite all these things?
You asked what happened bad in my life. I would say that was the worst thing.
Right, yeah.
But I was in wars, too. I was over in Korea when the Korea War started.
You were in Korea?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had my house burned 2 times.
All your belongings burned to the ground?
Not quite, but I had a home right in front of Sigmund Rhee's house, the Korean president. I was out of the house at the time, evening, and somebody got the kids and ran out with one of our helpers. So that was a problem. I went to the other house, and I said to my wife, this is the first time I felt warm in Korea. I went into the bathroom, I saw flames in the wall through an electric socket. Called the Marine who was in the duplex. He came with a big axe. He had it down before the fire department came. Had it out. So I've had some bad experiences, but I wouldn't say I've had any long experiences that were bad for me.
Right. So I mean, even now you smile and you laugh all the time. What is it? What keeps you so positive?
You know, I think what's positive is I wake up every morning and I say, now what's going to happen today? I know the Lord's going to bring somebody to me that I can help. I had a friend of mine, his grandson was alcoholic. He was despondent all the time. I didn't speak against it. I just told him, look, when I get up in the morning, I'm so excited. I want to see who the Lord's going to bring to me that I can help. If I could get his mind off himself, helping others. So that's what I was trying to do, help other people. But it's interesting how many things have happened where somebody's brought to my attention that I can do something for.
Well, that's a beautiful perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any current goals you have, like long-term projects you're working toward?
Well, I'm trying to get my message out about the lifestyle, which really basically is a vegetarian diet. See? That's what I'm trying to get out because it's so reasonable. It's sensible. It's not hard to do in this country, you know, but to get people to want to do it, I'm trying to show them the reasons why it should be done. I got six good reasons I give them why it should be done. And you know, we oftentimes think you have to be a doctor or a PhD or something to be able to tell people this stuff. You don't. I've taken kids and trained them in 5 weeks how to do health education. And it worked. It worked. For example, give them 5 reasons why you shouldn't smoke. Get them go out and tell everybody. You don't have to have an MD to do that. And you could take nutrition and break it down into little bits and tell them, here's the 5 things you need to know about this. And it works. So I've tried that, and I'm really excited about getting organized a program to work with young people and get young people to do the education.
Like in your local area?
Yeah. I have it all outlined how to do it, but I don't have the energy now at this age to do it. I need to get somebody who will grab my idea and activate it. I want to get kids doing it.
Oh, wait, you should share with us your plans so that maybe somebody who has the energy and time to do it will do it.
Yeah, I'm excited because I had all kinds of subjects that they could lecture on.
Was there anything we didn't cover that you want to make sure you shared?
My dad was head of the temperature department, we call it, tobacco and alcohol, of our Adventist church in Washington, D.C. area, Takoma Park, Silver Spring area. He made a film with Dr. Oxner, chest surgeon, taking out a man's lungs because he was smoking. He had cancer of the lung. And it was called 1 in 20,000. At that time, we had about 20,000 dying every year from smoking, a lot more since that time. And this one was the one that was going to be saved because he had his lung removed. He took that film and showed it to British Parliament, Great Britain, London. It had a big effect on them over there.
Yeah.
It was, and he did did that in New York City in a big hotel, 800 people there. Some people would faint. Those are the days TV didn't have much blood.
Yeah.
And this was blood, and
Yeah.
people were fainting.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But
Scary.
my dad was really helped to move the stop smoking program
Yeah.
along. I think technology has been improved a lot. For example, when my dad had cataract surgery, he had to stay flat in bed for 3 days. There was pain doing it. I had mine out in 15 minutes. You know, I had it out. I could get up, exercise, and do everything right away. Tremendous change. For example, dentists. We always used to be scared to go to the dentist because it was painful.
Yeah.
I have a dentist here now putting in implants. No pain.
Good.
No pain at all. Tremendous advance.
Good. Yeah.
I think of surgery. For example, we may have more breast cancer than we used to have, but our surgery is better. We are saving patients from dying
Yeah.
because of surgery. So there's a lot of things. The technology has been improving tremendous in the medical field. But as far as what we should be doing now, I think is important.
Yeah.
The ACEs I mentioned, or the children's programs, obesity. We got to do something about obesity. Exercise. We got to get people exercising. And you have to eat less calories.
Yeah.
How do we do that? This 2 meals a day thing really works. We're having more alcohol problems. Much more alcohol problem. And that increases women's breast cancer. Midlife drinking is a bad thing. We need to do something about that. We should do it like we did with the smoking. Tax it. Tax it to that.
Tax alcohol.
Raise the taxes very high, like they did with cigarettes. Besides the taxes, make laws. You can only drink here, there. You know, that's what they did with the smoking. We've got to get people moving towards the vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
Not enough people are doing that. That means we got to educate on why they should be vegetarian. In 2015, the U.S. government said it's an optimum diet. But not many people moved because they made that statement. We got to do something
Yeah.
with that. Now, it's interesting about blood pressure. What are we going to do about hypertension? I began to get high blood pressure, but not till I was in my 80s. And it's very low.
Do you take medication for it?
I do. The lowest pill I have. But it's kind of interesting. If I'd had it when I was 50, have time to cause a lot of trouble. But I didn't get it till I was 80. So it made it quite a difference.
Yeah.
But hypertension, if you get enough linoleic acid in your diet, polyunsaturated fatty acid, from most plant oils, you won't get hypertension. If you get enough fiber in your diet, you won't get hypertension. If you get only 12 grams a day of fiber compared to 24 grams, you have about 57% higher risk of hypertension. If you get enough potassium, with rats, they won't get high blood pressure. They won't have any problem. And with humans, they've done studies that they don't get hypertension if they get enough potassium. We're supposed to have twice as much potassium as we have sodium. We have it just turned around. We're getting twice as much sodium as we are potassium. And potassium is from the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
See, meat gives us 25% of our salt, our sodium is in meat. And a lot of our breakfast cereals, they add salt. I use some breakfast cereals, and first thing I do, I try to make sure there's not more than 5 grams of sugar per serving.
Yeah.
It's got to be under that for me
Yeah.
to use it.
Our fancy cameraman, Chris, do you have any questions?
I think you've done a really good job of asking the questions. How can I get in to see Gary Fraser and interview him?
He's a good friend of mine. He wrote a book, in 2003,
I read it.
put out by the Oxford Press.
In fact, I've ordered 2 of your books. How many books have you written?
I haven't written many. I'll tell you.
Well, I've ordered 2 of your books. I thought I heard you say on Chef AJ Live that you wrote a book all about fat.
Yeah,
I
can
can't
give
find
you
that
one.
book.
I can give you one.
Oh, I want one.
Yeah.
I want it autographed.
See, it's just little pamphlets.
Oh, yeah.
It's my lectures that I had with slides. I made each page of the book one of those. And I have lots of things like that. Now, something I'd like you to see, I'm trying to make it attractive.
Oh, that's pretty.
How do you like that?
Yeah, that's a very pretty graphic.
You can't really copy that very well. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. You've got to see this.
Can you hold it up so the camera can see
yeah,
it?
it looks like we got some slides.
I have this all on the computer. How's diet related to your being alcoholic or to opium?
At this point, Michelle and I got treated to a fascinating talk linking junk food to acquiring a propensity towards alcohol and drug abuse. The initial research was done at Loma Linda in the 60s when Dr. Register was head of the School of Nutrition where Dr. Scharffenberg worked. Dr. Register was a giant in the field and one of the discoverers of B12 in the late 40s. The initial studies were on rats whose diet was changed to the standard American diet of donuts, hot dogs, and all the rest. Poor rats.
If he gave them a good diet, here the height of the line represents the amount of alcohol they drink. Every rat knows not to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
They drink only water. When he put them on the junk food diet, they started right off drinking some alcohol. And 7th week, they took off and became real alcoholic rats. We've found out biochemically how that works.
The talk got pretty technical, but the bottom line is when rats ate junk food, their bodies produced opium.
To be sure that we're right in our theory, we injected these alcoholic rats who are making morphine, we inject them with morphine. They drink water.
Really? Wow, that's amazing.
See, they're getting already what their body craves. If you give a human being who's obese, you go give him an opiate blocker. I have one here that they tried. It affects the dopamine center in the brain. They stop eating the food that they craved. So we can now divide up obese people who have a physiological craving because of the opium
Oh, wow.
from those who have another kind of obesity.
So are you very familiar with the new obesity drugs that are coming out?
They're having
Ozempic.
one of them is this opiate
Oh, it is?
blocker.
Oh.
Costs $1,000. It's expensive.
I've heard it's very successful.
Yes, but
People who take it say, wow, now I know what a normal person feels like
Yeah,
because
right.
now I'm not hungry all day long.
But there's another group who are obese, but not from that reason, see? So we
I
can
see.
separate the kind of obesity now
I see.
because of this.
Oh.
That's exciting.
And do they know what % of people are obese because of?
No,
the
we
genes?
don't know. They're just now getting into the research on this
Wow.
thing. But you see, Dr. Register found out with animals that's true
Yeah, wow.
way back,
Wow.
1960s.
Yeah, amazing.
But now we're finding out it's true, and they're doing it with overweight people. So something about their diet that's making them produce opium. We got to find out what that is.
Yes. So, Dr. Scharffenberg, sometimes I think most of what we know about nutrition we knew in the 70s,
We knew a long time ago,
a
yeah.
long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now fad diets keep coming and the food companies are marketing and they're messing with our brains. Did you ever meet Ansel Keys? What did you think of Ansel Keys?
I had to invite him out to my facility.
You did? Yeah. How was he? What was he like?
He's a doctor in physiology.
Yeah.
University of Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did the 7th country
Yeah.
study, you know.
Quite respected, right?
Yes, there were problems with it, but he was a well-respected scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a nice study that he did, those 7th country study. Yeah, I knew him well. The head of the Framingham study was a friend of mine too.
So yeah, that was an epic study. I heard you say once that he used to think HDL was significant in heart disease.
That was the guy who's a friend of mine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bill
now we don't
Castelli.
think it is
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Castelli.
Costello.
Yeah, and then he said, you know what, we found out in the modern day that HDL doesn't matter.
That's right. They did a study of 600,000 people or something up in
Wow.
Canada. The
Yeah, wow.
Chinese,
Wow.
Canadians did the study, and it didn't seem like HDL had anything to
Yeah.
do with heart disease.
Yeah, now all the talk is non-HDL cholesterol.
That's right.
So, and do you ever talk about ApoB, or is it too complicated for consumers?
The latest thing is that we can reduce heart disease 80%, strokes 80%, diabetes 88% with avoiding these 7 risk factors.
Yeah,
Lifestyle
Yeah.
rather than medicine.
yeah,
That is brand new concept.
yeah.
That's a brand new concept.
I've heard you say that on other interviews.
See, Ellen White was telling us this, and I was a medical student. That bothered me.
Yeah,
You know, how could that be?
yeah.
And here we now know it scientifically.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
It is amazing.
So I've heard these Adventist professors say, we used to be thought of as crackpots for.
Yeah, that's right.
In fact, I heard you say, tell Michelle, you couldn't raise a child on.
That's right.
Now it's respected, and
It's respected.
yeah, very respected.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that the Adventists in America, which is not the longest lived population in the world, are the longest lived people in the world now? They're the longest lived blue zone.
They're the only ones that have been scientifically studied.
Yeah,
These others, the National Geographic man, I know him.
yeah.
He didn't study it.
Dan Buettner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wants to know, how do you feel about this diet?
Yeah.
Psychologically, see,
Yeah, yeah.
he's not thinking about the science of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I gave him my whole list of scientific things
Yeah.
for longevity.
Yeah,
He wasn't interested in that.
yeah. Oh, that's funny.
But the Adventists have had hundreds of studies
Yeah.
on them. See,
Well, this is why I want to interview Dr. Fraser, because the Adventist 2 study is amazing.
it is.
It's one of the most amazing studies I've ever seen.
He doesn't like the way I say it.
Oh, really? Well, how do you say it?
He wants to look at it this way. He's not trying to brag about Adventists. He's trying to downplay that.
Yeah.
He's trying to say what in Adventist lifestyle is the thing that we can get everybody to accept.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And see, that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I met him on the steps once at Loma Linda. I said, look, Adventists are doing so much better. He didn't like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't want us bragging about that.
Yeah.
He just wants to say, hey, these are things we learned from this study that should help everybody in the world.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
See, that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah. I see.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He eats some fish, right?
You know that book that he put out?
Yeah.
He needed to get time off from Loma Linda to do that. I arranged for him to get
Oh.
financed.
Oh. So we have you to thank. That's awesome.
It was awesome. 2003. He went to Oxford
Yeah.
to get ideas on new ways to calculate things statistically.
Yeah.
That's where he got the idea. What percent of the population lives to be 85 or longer? That's another way of looking at it, see?
He was on sabbatical at Oxford, right?
Yeah,
And he
helped
worked
him.
with the Epic Oxford team, the other vegetarian study?
I don't know. He must have known all that. He knew all their statisticians.
Yeah.
But he went there to learn that.
Yeah.
How can you look at things statistically in a different way to make it interesting to people?
Well, he has said that their outcomes were very different than Adventist outcomes. And he said when we looked at the data, it's because of what they were eating in the UK. They were eating a lot of processed food.
The Epic Oxford study was no good study.
Oh, really?
Some people commented to me on that.
Yeah.
And I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the study group didn't have near the death rate that the whole population had.
Oh.
That's where it was off.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
adequate control group.
I see. Interesting.
See?
That's fascinating.
So it's still going on. So
This is fascinating. Have we worn you out? Are you done?
no, I want you to see the food.
Yeah.
Oh, we want to see the food too.
Yes.
See,
Absolutely.
that's not my refrigerator. I got a little section.
Oh.
We'll see your
But
section.
I only want to talk to you for 3 more
Yeah.
hours. Chef AJ's going to throw you a 100-year birthday party?
I don't know.
I think she is.
I don't know.
I have a very exciting guest today. His name is Dr. John Scharffenberg.
I was surprised I got so many hits.
Oh, yeah. You're a celebrity.
400
You're a
and-
YouTube star.
478
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
1,000.
Biggest episode she ever did.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that's not the only one where you were a
I
star.
did with Doug Batchelor,
Yeah.
pastor of the
Yeah.
Adventist Church.
And I'm delighted today to have here in the Amazing Facts studios, Dr. John Scharffenberg.
I had 500,000 the first 2 weeks.
Amazing. Did you ever think you would touch this many people?
No, I didn't. I
Well-
didn't.
Steve Jobs, you know him?
Yeah, I
He
know
was my
who
old
is.
boss.
Is that right?
Yeah. We'd go out to lunch. Well, actually, I would go to lunch because everybody else was eating ham and cheese sandwiches on white bread. And I would go to this little burrito place, and they had brown rice and beans and guacamole and all that kind of stuff. And you just got your whole wheat tortilla, and then they would put in whatever filling you wanted. And Steve started looking at that. He was vegetarian. He started looking at that and saying, that looks pretty good. Are you Adventist? And I said, no, I didn't even know what an Adventist was at the time. And he said, well, can you buy me some of those burritos? So when I would go out to lunch, I'd get one for Steve and one for me.
3, 2, 1. Woo!
Yeah, I see what it does. I see what it does.
Worked good enough.
Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day! Woo! Alrighty. Let's see what
Now-
the doctor eats.
Okay. Here's
Okay.
bananas.
Okay.
I have raisins
Raisins. Mmm.
and prunes. I haven't had
Prunes.
prunes for a year. I got to get some prunes. I love prunes.
We used to think that's just what old people ate,
Yeah, I know.
but I guess you qualify now.
Now,
And so do I.
look at the nuts.
Look at all those nuts.
Brazil nuts. You know,
Yeah.
these have selenium.
Yeah. Can't you eat too many of them and
No.
get too much selenium?
No,
Oh, really?
no. But they come from Brazil. There's places where they have selenium in the soil where they don't.
Yeah.
It usually comes from those places where they have selenium.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to decrease prostate cancer.
Oh, I see.
And pecans,
How's your prostate cancer doing?
I don't have any problem.
That's wonderful.
And almonds
Yeah.
and
Cashews.
Cashews,
So I have trouble.
walnuts.
I have trouble with cashews. Can you explain why?
I don't know.
I can't stop eating them.
Walnuts is the best handful in lowering blood cholesterol.
Yeah, yeah. Because of the omega-3s?
Yeah, that's right.
And
then
how often do you eat nuts?
I eat nuts almost every meal. This is one of my favorites.
Tofu.
Tofu.
And which part of this fridge is your stuff?
Just this little
This little drawer. What's
thing
that
down
next
here.
to it?
Cooked cereal, I think.
Cooked cereal. Let's.
No, it's cherries.
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 Yum.
Yeah, cherry.
I do see you do like fruit.
She gives me cereal, though. She always has it cooked here, and applesauce. And then down in here, I want to show you something.
Where's the mangoes?
I don't have the mango.
We need to get you some mangoes next time.
Raspberries is my cherries. You saw them here. And the strawberries, those are my 3 bags.
Wow. And you eat a lot of bananas?
I like bananas.
Don't they have a high glycemic index? You don't worry about that?
Potatoes, you know.
Yeah,
I tell
potatoes,
you, it's
yeah,
high. Guys,
Yeah.
but I don't really believe in that yet. In Canada, the British people did study that, but every time they do it, they get a different number.
Yeah.
It depends on what else is in the meal and how it's prepared. So we aren't really sure where we are on that. But I have a dietetic friend. She doesn't eat potatoes anymore because
Yeah.
of
Yeah. But you eat a couple of cups of oats in the morning sometimes when you're not having waffles?
I like the waffles.
The best. They're the best.
My wife developed a waffle recipe.
You know
First
what?
one is going all around the world.
I know because we use it.
You use it.
Yeah,
It's
with
pretty
bananas
good.
and applesauce. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And oats.
It's a good
Yeah.
recipe.
And
Neat.
it's not just good for breakfast, but it's good for a snack later on. Our grandkids
yeah,
love
for
it.
eating like bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our grandkids love them.
Yeah.
Can we see your books?
For books, oh, come in here. It's not books, it's little things.
Your study room?
Let me give you the kinds of things I'm doing.
Is nutrition related to hypertension? You got a little pamphlet.
Let's see, what else do I want you to get this one.
Yeah.
I didn't give references for it, but let's see.
Yeah. On exercise. There you go. And let's see what's in.
There's some good stuff there.
Yeah, it talks about the benefits of exercise. It says sitting time increases death rate. And the speed of walking is also important.
You can have that one if you want.
We want it.
Why I am a vegetarian. Well, this is a thick pamphlet. Wow. You know, I love how you made it so easy for people to have these printouts and they can read this
Now, one of
material.
the best things I've did at School of Public Health, I discussed milk.
Milk. Can you show us that?
All the arguments against it, all the arguments for it. And then I divided them two ways. Good arguments and bad arguments.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Gary Fraser says people who drink milk have lower colorectal cancer than vegans do. Is he right?
That's right.
Because of the calcium?
But all the female organs are lower
Oh, interesting.
if they are vegans.
Huh.
See, yeah.
Wow.
And we don't really have enough numbers.
What do you mean by female organs are lower?
Breast cancer,
Oh.
uterine cancer, ovary cancer.
If they drink milk? If they don't drink milk?
If they don't drink
If
milk,
they don't
they have
drink milk.
less.
Yeah.
See, it's only the colorectal that's high.
I see.
But we don't have large enough numbers
To be sure.
to be sure.
Yeah.
Now, I said, why don't we study coffee more?
Yeah.
He says we don't have enough Adventists who are drinking coffee. Only 8%.
Oh, really?
I said, Gary, I was to one of the strictest Arizona Adventist churches.
Yeah.
And I checked them out, and they said 40% were drinking
Oh, really?
coffee.
Oh, interesting.
I said, the difference is I don't have them put their name on the paper.
Oh. That's funny. So you got to have an anonymous survey.
You make them put their name on the paper. I said, that's the difference.
That's so great. So great. Well, this is quite a library you've got here.
Well, it's
Oh
not,
my
not
gosh.
much, but I got the
Whole
fat one.
foods.
The fat one.
Foods in their natural state.
The-
That sounds
yeah.
like Ellen White.
Take one of those.
I'll take it.
Handling of sugar.
Well, can we take one of
Ellen
each?
White
Sure.
and
Well,
vegetarianism.
you don't want all of. A lot of them are
Did
just
she
religious
practice
things.
what she preached?
But let me give you the one on fat.
Okay.
It's in here, I think.
These are thick.
Is this your wife here?
No, that's my mother.
Oh, your mother.
She was a very nice person. We just found that picture a while back.
Wow, and she raised you
There's
vegetarian.
my son.
Oh,
And the first time I realized that I look quite a bit like him,
yes, you do.
I was surprised.
I was about to tell you that, but I thought you would know.
Are these some kind of old letters over here? Like this?
That's a letter I wrote years ago.
1991.
I'll tell you why. I raised money for a group in Romania. They have a lifestyle center. They have programs, 3 weeks or something like that. See, it's 91.
Yeah.
But I raised the money for them to start that thing. I've helped many groups like that get started.
That's wonderful.
Period of great scientific advancement on diet and preventive cardiology, 1948 and beyond.
Oh,
And,
that's awesome.
and you said right now your current project is working on the plan for the young people to take up?
I don't know who I can get to do that kind of thing, see? I think you don't have to have a PhD, MD to educate people. I had a 5-week course in School of Public Health. I was afraid they might object to it, but they let me show that you didn't need a School of Public Health. You could train them in 5 weeks, not a year. And they went out from there. 16 banded together went out and started doing programs. Very successful. A wealthy man in Philadelphia saw what they were doing. He said, I'll pay all expenses. You come up here. And they did. very exciting what they did. They did the weight control programs. I showed them how to draw blood. And this first girl, usually we have a stick a needle in an orange, you know. But I let her practice on me. And she got in the first shot. She was so excited, she jumped up and down, whee!
Oh, yeah.
And here the thing was bobbing up and down my arm.
You're a brave man. I wouldn't have done it.
I was the first one to take students overseas. We went to little islands, and they were 8 to 12 inches, 10 inches too short compared to the well-nourished kids in the wealthy district in Manila. See, they weren't getting enough to eat. So I had evening programs for them. There was no electricity in the village. I had a gas lantern. They had worms. We did worm studies.
Oh, wow.
And the stools, the specimens,
Yeah,
they brought a
worms.
coconut shell.
Yeah.
One boy didn't have one, so his friend and this classmate gave him part of his, so they both had a specimen.
Yeah, wow.
Anyway, they had 3 different kinds of worms.
Wow.
And they had hookworm.
Oh,
That meant I had to do something about shoes.
yeah.
I had to do something about gardening. We taught them gardening. As a rule, the governor of the province told every school they had to teach gardening. Now, that was worthwhile. That was worthwhile.
You know, I have to tell you, I got pinworms at one time, and they crawl out of your butt at night,
Yeah.
and they make you really itchy.
Yeah, right.
I know it's gross. Poor Michelle over there is about to vomit at the thought.
But I had a toilet building contest,
Wow.
and we wanted to pretend immunization wasn't part of us
Wow.
because that's their problem. They always think they have to have a doctor.
Yeah.
And I was trying to show them they didn't need a doctor. See, they could get well without a doctor, but just living right. It was exciting.
Wow.
It was really good public health.
So, is your son a doctor?
Yes.
I heard that
He
he's...
married a nurse. My daughter's
yeah.
a nurse, married a doctor.
Wow, that's great. But I heard he said you're only going to live to 110.
And he said I lived to 110.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I know. I think it's pretty good.